right, welcome back to the No Morning Show here on TTT. We can make it if we try. Well, we have somebody in studio with us at this time who is definitely trying, but you all will decide if he's done a good job, yes or no. Welcome to the No Morning Show here on TTT. Sitting across from me in the hot seat this morning is His Worship Mayor Joel Martinez to talk to us about the revitalization of Port of Spain. But what we learned recently, the pedestrianization of Ariapita Avenue. I didn't even know there was such a word as pedestrianization. But Mayor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Natalie. Good morning to your station. Good morning to the people of Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, and all your audiences wherever they are.
Yes, Mayor, before we get into the hard talk, you know, we were talking, you know, we were talking backstage, you know, about this, which one is mine, Lisa? This one? That one, right. We were talking about Shadow Benny. And the Mayor, what is it that you said, Mayor?
I heard the discussion on the fact that you did not like Shadow Benny.
Yes, yes.
And I indicated to you that my wife also does not like Shadow Benny.
Oh, good morning, wifey. Hope you're having a fantastic start to your day, darling. Kindred spirits, I must say, I'm so happy.
However, don't let him finish. Let him finish, please.
And that Shadow Benny really tastes quite well in chow.
Thank you.
And but it's a very strong. It has a pungent taste because it's very strong, like bay leaf in some instances. If you overuse it, but as you said, as the conversation was going, Trinidadians
all Trinis overuse the Shadow
they
Benny.
they like that strong taste.
Yeah.
In basically a lot of things. If you realize, we use pepper. We have one of the hottest peppers in the world, and the scorpion pepper. But they put a lot of pepper in it. Sometimes if I taste chow, I could hardly eat it because it's
more pepper than
it's so strong.
Fruit,
yes. And then I work for a company called Sagico in Chaguanas, and you would imagine the diet in Chaguanas is really pepper with everything.
Yes, that's true.
So it's not an easy proposition, but I'm getting accustomed to it. And doubles must have pepper, and it must have the sweet sauce, and it must have the Shadow Benny.
I feel stick with Port of Spain, because if we get into doubles and I tell you that I don't eat that either, then it's going to be a whole different conversation.
Well, no.
Look at Geron looking at me like something is wrong with me.
Plenty wrong with your girl. Go ahead and talk about Port of Spain.
I'm sure she eats jerk.
Of course.
You see?
Of course,
not everybody can handle jerk.
That's true. A lot of people can't manage the spice either.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? And in some instances, they feel that the hotter it is, the better it is. And, you know, that's maybe why people love the Caribbean. The hotter it is,
the better it is. Ah, so true, so true. So, Mayor, we're talking about the revitalization of Port of Spain, and I know that there were certain things on the agenda. The Piccadilly Street Memorial Building and Salvatore site.
Memorial Plaza.
And Salvatore site.
Yes.
Have we made any headway in terms of those three specific places mentioned in making any changes thus far?
Well, those areas are predominantly under the UDICOT, which is under the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Planning and that sort of thing. So they have earmarked those areas for major revitalization. As you can realize that the Memorial Park area I have done some work in that area where we have exposed the cenotaph, and we've just lit the cenotaph, and we've put up some signage. So it's all part of you're taking certain areas and you're developing it first. And so that a plaza there is uptown Port of Spain. Piccadilly is downtown, but East Port of Spain. Salvatore is downtown Central Port of Spain. And then you also have Victoria Square, that area, where you have the PowerGen, currently the PowerGen building that has to be demolished. And that there's also an earmark for that site too.
What are they going to put there, though, to replace that big
it's a mixture of commercial and residential and parking, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to have people living in the city in those spots So that, and then you also have Tragreet Road where Despa Spaniard is currently, and they're going to be moving to the George Street, Old Angostura Bond area. So all those areas are the areas that are targeted at this time for major infrastructural change.
Right. So I know that you all are trying to do it bit by bit, piece by piece, and therefore we saw, you know, Charlotte Street being renamed, you know, into Chinatown, which is all fantastic, and the unveiling of the lands, which was nice and stuff. But talk to us about this idea of, and the lanterns as well. That's going to definitely complete the feel.
Yes. And there's more to come.
For Charlotte, well, I can't say for Charlotte Street, for Chinatown.
Yeah, well, we are looking at the at cobblestoning and moving away the pavements, and you know, so there's one open space now, and that will take a little bit longer, but it's all part of the process.
Well, as you say that, when you talk about removing the pavements, then what happens with the vendors?
Well, we're looking at part of pedestrianizing again the area.
Chinatown as well?
Yes.
All right, well, let's talk about that. So pedestrianization of Chinatown as well as Ariapita Avenue. I remember when I heard of, but first of all, you'll tell us what this really means in terms of pedestrianization of Ariapita Avenue. But the first question that popped up in my mind, where people going to park? And are we going to have a park and ride?
Yes. Well, you know, cities can't stay the same all the time. They have to transform. And we've had a crisis situation that changed the way in which we do business, changed the way in which we operate. And that change didn't come easy for us. But it's, if you look at of what it has done for the society, although it's what you call the new normal, it has helped us to be a lot more cleanlier in the way in which we operate. We wash our hands more often. We look after our health. We're making sure that we are social distance, things like that.
Right, so things have changed.
Things have changed.
To talk to us about this pedestrianization, what does this really mean?
Well, it's walkability, is being able to allow people to enjoy the city and walk around the city. If you look at a lot of the metropolitan cities in the world and the ones that are doing very well, they've developed a lot of walkability, people spaces.
So you're thinking of like a Bourbon Street in New Orleans?
Sort of, yes. And we will have our own characteristics attached to our streets.
Yeah.
And we already have a high cultural input in the way in which we operate as Trinidadians or Caribbean people. So you could imagine that festive, enjoyable, scenic feel that a Caribbean island presents, but at the same time, the heart and warmth of the people that can gel all of that and make it into something very special.
I'm sure it could be something very special, but for that to happen, it means that the city has to be able to provide parking. And is it going to implement a park and ride?
Well, yes, it's what we call a hop on, hop off. And that's also in the works, because at the end of the day, we need to have a transportation around the city. It's already too congested. If you look at how parking is done in the city on the streets, everybody park on the streets. There aren't too many car parks, but there are the development of car parks at this time.
Right.
So any new infrastructure too that's coming up, we are looking to develop parking, because we know that we want to be able to change the dynamic of the city.
But
so parking is part of it.
Isn't this something that should have been done before? Because the thing is, for pedestrianization to happen, is that you must have already figured out where people are going to park, how they're going to get along Ariapita Avenue from point A to point B.
Well, look at it this way. If you told business people, look, invest in parking, and they realize that everybody parks on the street, then what's the point of investing in a car park? Furnace invested in a car park on Edward Street, and it's never full. Why? Because people park on the street, right in front of the car park, and we don't enforce parking laws or we create parking zones or no parking zones. So we have to change that dynamic, and it will encourage parking, people to invest in parking. At this time, it's difficult for the government to do it, so we are looking at private investment and also private-public partnerships
So has the
to be able to do that.
Has the Port of Spain City Corporation consulted with the businesses on Area Pita or, you know, just in Port of Spain and environs about this idea of pedestrianization?
All right. So in terms of pedestrianizing, we're not going full bore into pedestrianizing. We're looking at the weekends first. So like on a Friday afternoon, and we can park. We can allow parking maybe at the end of Arapita Avenue by the stadium there, and then we could allow parking on lower, on the upper, closer to Park Street, on the other side of Arapita Avenue, and then we have some of those internal streets that we can allow a certain amount of parking to take place. So in the meantime, while we are developing, it's good.
So there hasn't been any consultation, Mayor, because you just telling me all
really,
of this.
Well, to some extent, but not major.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't you think that was necessary, though? Because is this what the business owners want? Do they welcome the initiative?
Okay, so let's put it. The Prime Minister last year brought the revitalization to the front.
Yeah.
And that put Port of Spain in the spotlight. And having done that, there would have been a number of discussions with architectural and engineering and the different agencies to put it together. And then you now have the discussions between the ministries and the city to be able to pull it together and all. You know, if you have nothing to present to the citizens, then you'll say, well, show me something. But there was nothing to show. Now that we have started to talk about it, that's where the consultation will take place, because it's a change dynamic.
So in other words, you'll want to try it first and let people see.
Well, look at it this way. We have had many plans over the years that we have shelved. And many cities or many countries and governments do that from time to time, where they have plan 1, plan 2, plan 3. The Prime Minister indicated Port of Spain have plan number 17.
Yeah.
But nothing has been done about it. And this time, he wants to see something done about it. So, we have planned. Now, let's start putting it into action, whatever is necessary. Because if we had done plan 1, and then we consulted with the people, and then never did it, then what you would see, well, that's a promise. And then that's another promise. And then 17 plans later, another promise. Well, we're trying to do it a different way this time. We have the plan. It's about to be rolled out, and the Prime Minister has spoken about it. He has engaged the city, he has engaged planning, he has engaged tourism and culture, he has engaged health, agriculture, finance, everybody, to be able to say, look, you know what, and UDICOT, to say, look, let's change the dynamic of the city. Let's help. This is a good time. We have a crisis. Let's turn crisis into opportunity. Let's change the dynamic of the city of Port of Spain. It's our capital city. It's about time we do something about it.
May I have to be frank with you? I think if there's any area that I could look at and say you have failed, it's the cleaning of the city. And while I hear, I've heard you, I've spoken to you before about this in terms of, you know, what it takes to keep the city clean. For me, as the person who has to use Port of Spain, I want it clean. I don't want to hear the issues that you have in getting it clean, because to me, you're there to fix the problem so that I don't face it. If we're looking seriously at the revitalization of Port of Spain, are these things that we're going to work out to just understand that we can't have a revitalization with a dirty city?
I agree with you, first of all. And the thing about cleaning a city is that we clean the city. The problem is Trinidadians who use the city are too nasty. That's a fact. They eat something here and they throw it right there. People who are vendors, they do the same thing. People who are business people, throw it out on the street. That's what we do. That's our habits. And it's bad habits. And we have been trying to get them to change that culture. That's one of the negative cultures of Trinidad.
Yeah.
So we have to start working on it. We have been cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and we have been washing down the streets, and we have a homeless problem that defecates on Queen Street or Chacon Street or wherever they could, whenever they feel like. And we have been trying to deal with that social problem for some time. If we would have been a lot further ahead had the COVID not happened, because we were looking at some additional plans to be able to do it, but the Social Development Ministry is now very much on board and dealing with it together with the city, together with the other institutions like the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Health and so on. So we are working on it. It's not for trying, but I will tell you, we have made a lot of strides in trying to keep the city clean and to change the dynamic of it. But as you clean it, you pass back 10 minutes later, and they throw the garbage right after the truck pass.
Yeah.
So
and the road
it's really heartbreaking when you see that you can go to other countries and you see it very clean and nice, and then you look around and you see that, but it doesn't always happen in all the areas.
Right.
You have there are particular spots. People dump garbage at will. People throw out an old washing machine.
So how do you treat with
fridge.
that? For the business people, for the residents, for the people who just come and use Port of Spain, how do you treat with that? If you recognize that it's a cultural problem, how do you penalize? What consequences, penalties are in place for that kind of indiscriminate dumping or just not trying to maintain the city?
Well, we also have, we've just gotten some litter wardens. We've not had litter wardens for some time, and we have asked the police, and the police have charged some people for for littering up to recently, but it's not done enough because it's like a soft law whereby you have not made it, you've not strengthened it enough.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's not taken seriously. But the effects of it is negative. So we have to, it's work in progress.
All right, I understand that. Mayor, one of my co-workers approached me this morning and said, I heard the mayor is coming. Please ask him what he's going to do about the roads in Port of Spain because they are horrible. And I was like, really? And he was like, you don't see that big hole down by the corner of French Street and Wrightson Road, or even when you're coming up by Power Gen there to turn onto Area Peter, really and truly it has some massive holes.
Yes.
Or, and Carlos said, or Park Street. There are quite a few of them.
Yeah, we have of recent, within the last year, I would say, we have had a really, a traumatic increase in holes in the city, and so you have a number of things that cause that. One is you have the aged infrastructure that is under the road, and anytime you have a burst pipe, it affects the road.
Right.
And if you look at a lot of the holes, they have water in them, and that is because. So I can't do anything for that. And then you have to get WASA. And then, well, if you read the papers, you'll realize all the complications that are going on with WASA at this time and how they manage that. And then when they resurface, it's never really done properly. So then it comes up again. But because it was a job and you can't go back to that job because then you wouldn't get paid for it because it would have been a difficult, they leave it alone. Then you have what you call the natural where pitch would come up and you would have a hole and then it would be left and it just gets worse. Well, we have a difficulty in getting material to be able to do spot patching and so on. And we have started at times, but then we run out of material. If you want to do the job well, you have to be able to have a constant flow of material. Apart from that, you have the fact that people just dig up areas and leave it like that, and it happens.
Mayor, you obviously have a lot on your plate.
It is.
We wish you well here at TTT and hope you can get the job done. Looking forward to the unfolding and the getting the revitalization plan out there. So thank you so much for being with us here this morning.
That time came real fast.
And I can't tell you, I was 5 or 6 or 7 minutes by now over.
Oh, I'm now ready to talk.
I know. All right, Mayor, thank you so much. Mayor Martinez here in studio with us talking about the revitalization of Portersport, Spain. And as he says, Trini's culture is a nasty one. And we need to fix that if we really want to get this thing going. We take a break and we'll be back.